Hello, we're here today to look at the Packet Tracer Skills Integration Challenge that's included in Chapter 6 of Introduction to Networks. Specifically, it's labeled 6.5.1.3. And you can see on the screen we've got a router and then two subnets, each with a switch. In this particular scenario, they're labeled room-145 and room-146. Your labeling may be different, but the general topology is going to follow the same pattern. So what I did to make life a little bit easier is I took the instructions that were packaged in with the Packet Tracer and I copied those into my own Microsoft Word worksheet. What this buys for me is the ability to, one, fill in the addressing table so you can see that the default gateways are included. I color code them in red there. And when we actually get down to the requirements, I made some notes for myself. So when I get in and actually get going on the switch and router configurations, there's not that level of, panic, which some people seem to freeze up when they're confronted with that lonely router or switch prompt. So while you're calm, just read through the requirements and figure for yourself what router or switch configuration mode you need to be in and what commands you need in order to fulfill that requirement, and very well that things will be a lot smoother along the way. So here we have our configuration, and one of the first things that we are asked to do is to provide that missing information in the addressing table. You can see that I have done that. That's just to help you as you complete the specifications for the default gateways. Then we want to name our router. So we can open up the router. If you're not already in the CLI, you'll move to that. And we need to enable to get into the configuration mode and config terminal or config T to get into global configuration mode. And then we'll want to use that hostname command to name the router. And you can see that I've worked that out here on the worksheet so that I can refer to that. And I will also configure the switch as well. So here we have the host name for the router, and I can open up the switch. So config T will work, and host name for that switch is going to be room 146. As is mentioned in the instructions, you're not going to be able to open up room-145. The configuration is locked on that particular switch. So things have been pre-configured for you over there. All right, so one of the next things we want to do is to configure Cisco as the user exec password for all the lines. So remember, we've got the console line and then all the virtual terminal lines. So it's basically a 3-command sequence. We'll have the line command, password, and login. So let's go to the router and start in on that. So let's do the console line first. And the password is Cisco. We'll say login. We can exit to get back to the config prompt. And then we want to do line VTY 0 through 15. Password Cisco and login. While we're at it, we'll exit back and do the enable password or the privileged exec password, and that would be enable secret, and the password we are instructed to use is class. So that's the meaning behind class there, enable secret class. So at this point, we have taken care of the router with naming it, putting the Cisco password on all the lines, and the privileged exec password of class on that router. And let's just keep on going and encrypt all the plain text passwords. So that is accomplished with the service password encryption command. And since we're on a roll here with the router, let's go ahead and configure the banner appropriately. So that would be banner MOTD, stands for message of the day. So you can remember that acronym, and any encapsulating character to surround what your message is going to be. I like to use the caret because the caret seems to be not commonly used inside of phrases. So it'll be, unique as that encapsulating character. And let's just say no unauthorized access. And then same character on both ends. Okay. So you see that pattern? We named the router, we put passwords on all the lines, we created a privileged exec password that's encrypted, we encrypted all the plain text passwords, and we put message of the day banner. Let's accomplish those same things over here on the switch. So the host name has been done. So now we're going to do the line console. Password and login. And then the VTY lines. Password and login. Do the enable secret with the password of class. And service password dash encryption will encrypt all plain text passwords. And let's do that message of the day identical to what we had for the router, no unauthorized access. And now we have the same configurations on our switch as we have on our router. So we're in the same level of configuration for those two. So back to the router, we are ready to configure some addressing. So remember, a router is a layer 3 device where each interface defines a separate subnet or a separate network. So we can use the interface and the interface ID to move from config to config IF level. And then at this level, we're going to actually implement the IP address. We can go back to our table, and for the device floor 14 at the G0/0 interface, the IP address is 10.10.10.1. So we want to use the IP address command and put that address in. We need to put in the subnet mask, which, if you remembered, 255.255.255.0. If you don't remember, go back and check the chart. At this point, we can hit enter. And remember, when you put that IP address on the interface, yes, it's associated with that interface, but the interface is still in its quiet state or shut down. So you have to put no in front of the keyword shutdown to make that interface come alive, okay, for it to boot up. So when I enter that command, we can see some confirmation message back that that gigabit 0/0 interface state has changed to up. I can just hit the enter key a second time to get my prompt back. I'm just going to exit so that I go back to the regular old config prompt. But I want to now do the configurations for the second interface, which is G0/1. So G0/1 and IP address. Sometimes you might have to type all those things in. You see I cheated a little bit by copying and pasting, but if that doesn't work for you, go ahead, type it out. And no shutdown. It is possible to use the abbreviated word shut. You can see that that's recognized. The gigabit 0/1 interface is changing state to up. And now we have two interfaces on that router that have been configured with IP addresses, and they are in a live state. Okay. Now we need to do something with the room-146 switch. So let me bring that command line interface up. I might have to hit the enter key to get the prompt to come back. On a switch, being a layer 2 device, each interface does not have an IP address. If we want the switch to be addressable, though, we can use a little special entity called a virtual LAN. So we can say interface VLAN 1, okay? And we can put an IP address on that virtual LAN. And since it's the device room-146, the address is in the addressing table. It's given to us, 10.10.11.100. Okay. And we will need a subnet mask and no shutdown. Now, in order for this switch to have some awareness of where it is in the bigger network world, it's going to need to know the default gateway. So remember, the definition of the default gateway is the closest router interface on your way out to the bigger network world. So for room-146, it's going to be this interface right here, which happens to be the gigabit 0-1 interface. We can double check that because the room-146 switch is on the 11 network, and I already figured out for myself that the default gateway should be 10.10.11.1. Okay, so I need to make this switch aware of that default gateway. So IP default gateway, and then that address. You see that I didn't get the keyword right. So you can always use that question mark to help you know what the interface feels is correct, and it's default dash gateway. So let's get that correct. And we are well on our way. Let's just copy that running config to the startup config. And actually, we are almost done, okay? So that is the switch. Let's go back to the router and make sure that we have copied the running config to the startup config. Wrong mode. So let's just go back. config. Start up config. All right. So I believe that I may have errored on the switch as well. Yep. So we can see that I tried to do that copy there at the wrong level. The Cisco equipment is very sensitive about which tier of the operating system you happen to be in when you execute a command. So I'm going to use the exit, get back to the right level, do that copy. I can accept the default. Now all things are good. If you're curious anywhere along the way of whether you're getting things correct, you can go down to the bottom of your assignment and check your results. Look at the assessment items. All right, we can see that we have not yet worked on the end devices. All right, so manager A and B, reception A and B need some work. Okay? So let's get to it. All right? So for each of our end devices, we need to go to the desktop and then into IP configuration and see what's what. So manager A looks like it might have some pre-configuration in here with it, but the default gateway isn't set. So that default gateway needs to be 10.10.10.1. And let's go to reception A. And the IP address and subnet mask are configured, but the default gateway, again, is not. That's also 10.10.10.1, because what is a default gateway? It is the IP address of the closest router interface on your way out to the wider network. Now, on this side, we're going to be going into a different router interface. So on manager-B, we need to be on 10.10.11.1. And also reception B, 10.10.11.1. So now, if we're curious again, we'll check our results. And looks like we may have one thing missing here. Now we're at the point in our assignment where we want to, see if there's anything that has gone awry, make sure that we've configured things the way that they should be configured. So let's take manager-A, well, now let's take reception-B and go to the command prompt, and we're going to ping across the network to manager-A, which should be at 10.10.10.101. that ping is not successful. So I would say we need to do some troubleshooting. Okay. So we're at reception-B. Okay. Let's look at its configuration. We know that we set the default gateway to 10.10.11.1. Ooh, we weren't really careful when we looked at those IP addresses because they were preset, but something is wrong here. This device was configured on the 10 network when it really should be on the 11 network. So let's go back in and configure that device to be on the 11 network. And then while we're at it, let's make sure that all of them are correct. So there's 11.101 and default gateway 11.1. That looks good. The reception is 10.10.10.102 with the default gateway of 10.10.10.1. Okay. And manager A, 10.10.10.101 with the default gateway of 10.10.10.1. Okay. Let's try again to ping to 10.10.10.101. All right, we can ping to manager-A. Let's ping to reception-A, which is 10.10.10.102. Every once in a while, you will get a request time out. Try the ping again. Okay, this time it was successful. And you should know that just because you can ping in one direction doesn't necessarily mean that everything's great going the other direction. So let's come over here to manager A and make sure that we can ping to 10.10.11.102. And everything looks great. So I hope you can get these configurations worked out as well and have great success on your Chapter 6 Skills Integration Challenge.